Hey everyone, if you don't know who I am, my name's Talitha. I'm a second year music student. My pronouns are she, her, and I would like to be your next SJCR welfare officer. So I believe that welfare is a crucial part of college life, and I think it's really important for welfare support and guidance to be available for all students. And I feel that I have the best experience to carry out this vision. So I've been a member of the peer support team and the Music Durham welfare team for the past year. This has involved me hosting drop-ins, helping out at events, and so it's given me a really solid understanding of SJCR welfare structures, as well as the wider university support and welfare structures that are available. I've also spoken on a Q&A panel to over 300 young people about the importance of mental health, because I think it's really important that we get the conversation going about mental health. I'm also the current musical director of Durham University Gospel Choir, which has given me great leadership skills, which I think will come in handy for leading the peer support team and any other kind of managing aspects of the role. And I've also volunteered at a secondary school for people with additional needs, which will help when working with the disability rep that comes under the welfare officer. So some of the things that I would do as welfare officer is I would like to increase the number of events that we have. We all love tea and toast, but it doesn't happen very often, so I'd love to increase the amount of tea and toast that we have. I'd like to continue having the consent workshops for everyone at the start of the year, because I think it's really important to continue those conversations. And I also think it's really important for members of the SJCR to really know the welfare team so they feel approachable and can come to them with different issues. And so I'd host a Meet the Welfare Team event as well. I'd also like to evaluate the current setup of drop-ins so that it values peer support team members' time. And speaking of peer support team members, I'd like to have regular check-ins with them as well to ensure that they are faring well as well, because if they're not, then it's going to be much harder for them to help other SJCR members. Another thing I'd like to do is move the welfare supplies from the post room to the LRC so it's accessible for livers out. And the other thing is that the SJCR are going through quite a big transition in welfare at the moment, and so I'd like to be as much of an assistant as possible in that, in establishing what welfare officer and campaigns and inclusivity looks like going forward. So with all these things in mind, I hope you think I'm a suitable welfare officer for all of you for next year. Thank you.
Questions and clarifications on the HUST and manifesto? Clarifications? No. General questions? Abby, Emmy. Where's Annabelle?
Yeah, my brain's just completely shut down.
Okay. Yeah, Abby.
So welfare is most critical during Freshers Week and exam season. Is there anything in particular you do for these big
Yeah, so one of the big things that we do in Freshers Week at the moment is do drop-ins. However, sometimes the timings of them clash with other Freshers Week events. So for example, I had someone who, they were doing a drop-in and it clashed with matriculation, so obviously no one was going to attend it. So I think working out with the Freshers Week coordinators how best to implement welfare so that drop-ins are accessible, that people can actually attend them. And also just kind of being a friendly face in Freshers Week, getting really stuck in and involved so that people know who I am and that kind of thing.
So obviously as a welfare officer, it is important that you look after your own welfare. Is there anything in particular that you do to ensure you do that?
Yeah, so I think I'm living out next year, and I think that's a real benefit actually, is to have that separation from college. And I'm not afraid to go and speak to people within college as well, kind of like in the vice principal's office, that kind of thing. And because I have a knowledge of the different welfare structures, it can also be used for myself as well as like general SJCR members.
Sorry. I asked Kate there is a real question, but with the split that you already know has happened recently, how do you foresee the future of welfare under your guidance?
Yeah, so I feel like for the welfare officer, it's very much focused on kind of mental health and well-being stuff, whereas perhaps some of the more campaign stuff like Pride Month, Black History Month, that kind of thing would come under campaigns and inclusivity. There will obviously to some extent be crossover because they've come from the same thing, but I'm very happy to work with the campaigns and inclusivity officer where that would happen. But yeah, I feel like that's something that will be established kind of as I go into the role because it's not formalised just yet.
Follow-up?
No, that is not a follow-up.
Another question.
Sorry. From your experience on the peer support team this year, what
been? What's one benefit of having been on this team, and what's something that you carry on forward? What's something that you definitely would like to implement?
Yeah, I think a big benefit that I've found is just knowing how much support is available and how much awareness we have of different things kind of in the wider university as well. However, I think not enough people are aware of that. It's often just like the peer support team, and then if you have an issue, you come to the peer support team and they'll point you in the right direction. But actually just having kind of some of that initial awareness, I think, amongst SJCR members, so that we can still help them with their like guidance and pointing them to the right place, but also they're aware of it in the first place, so that they feel they can ask us for help rather than just going, there's nothing available, if that makes sense.
Any other questions? Thomas?
So, a relatively small but very significant part of the role of welfare officer involves welfare representation committee, as you know. And we spoke at the last welfare representation committee about how that can be quite intimidating, very long, as meetings drag on, but it is also really important that everyone has the opportunity to make their voices heard there. So I wonder your approach to balancing those two needs, to have a system that's accessible, but also where people can make their voices heard.
Yeah, I think perhaps in more of like the planning process before the committee meeting, like having a really set out agenda of what's going to be talked about, and possibly time limiting it if needed, if the meetings are going on too long. But yeah, I think I agree, it's really important to like have everyone's voice heard. But yeah, if they're dragging on too long, I think just having that initial planning of and timing stuff, if that makes sense.
Anybody else? No. Thank you. Okay, we are done.